Good evening, people. I'm not sure whether this is going to sound right with the levels. First time doing this kind of thing in ages. But just let me know if you can hear the voice over the music. Okay. I might need to make some adjustments. How's everyone doing? It's been a while since I've done one of these things. Summer doesn't really feel conducive to kind of locking yourself away. But now we've got the nights are coming on earlier. And it's much more like the time when we do this kind of thing, right? And I've got a fresh bottle of JD. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, actually, I'm just going to stop this. You might notice that I've got Maschine back up and running. And one of the reasons that I've now kind of put this in the forefront in my setup is because there's an update. This is now running the Maschine 3 software on the Maschine Plus. And it is now totally integrated with the S61. So this is standalone. This is not running with a computer. It's running standalone. I really enjoy that because it feels like it's a focus away from the computer. You know, working with a computer sometimes can feel a bit uninspiring. So it's all the flashing lights and stuff, and I really get into that. You know, for me, it's more enjoyable to make music, I think. So this now is in essence the kind of brain. So all of the programming and stuff happens here. But then the keyboard over here, you can see I've got the top of the screen here. I've got a top-down camera running. So you can see what's going on the keyboard interface. And what it is that any of these sounds can be manipulated. So over here, this hat, I can adjust the polyphony. Doesn't really make any difference here because I'm not really doing any overlapping triggering of that. But what I can do is when I play on the pad, then instantly it's available for pitching on the keyboard. So it opens up a lot more possibility, and that's a real kind of classic sampling thing that we used to do back in the day. And then the other thing is that I could turn on the SP1200 emulation, so when I do take it down in pitch, it's got that grainy kind of texture to it. So it's nice to be able to do that. And if I play this, so basically you can hear there that that hat was lower in pitch, and it's a lot easier, I feel, to do that on the keyboard than it is on the drum pads. But the drum pads are obviously great fun. This particular idea I knocked together very, very quickly before I set up the session. I'm going to save this, and then what I'm going to do is start something new so you can kind of see the workflow in action. So I'm just going to do file new, so we're starting from scratch, and I'm going to be using a recently created, well, a recently available expansion from Native Instruments, and it's called Raw Rhythm, and it's a great collection of kits and sounds and all kinds of elements, and I'm going to show you some of the kits here. Some of these are not housey, some of these are. Some of these presets have actually got some really nice programming. They demonstrate these kits really nicely. So they form like quite a nice starting point. You know, you don't have to copy what's in the programming, but what you can do is just have a listen and see if there's something that you like the sound of. So I'm actually going to load that one. And what I'll do is I'll put it onto fixed velocity and just start playing around. But like I said, when I trigger on here, it's available on the keyboard straight away. And for anybody joining now, not from the very beginning of the session, this is literally Maschine Plus in standalone with the Native Instruments S61 Mk3. The two are now working really, really well. So there's a recent update. This is now running with the version 3 Maschine software. This is now able to work harmoniously. You can see on the window here that you've got the controls. You can edit stuff, you can do stuff. You can't browse from here, which is a shame. Increase the volume of the sound. Hey Don Swing, how you doing, man? Hope you're well. Are you talking about the overall level that's coming in? Let me just have a listen to something. I think probably the best way for me to do it would be to increase the gain on this, but that means I'm also going to need to take up the level on the mic. It's not the ideal setup, I have to say. Let me bring this one up. So the mic hopefully is a bit louder. Is that better for the drum sounds? So Don Swing. Is that sounding better? I do like that sound. And this library is put together by Alex Kidd. He's put together lots of really great expansions and libraries for different companies. Let's see how that goes. That feels louder, hopefully. So let's just do something here. Just going to add a bit of swing onto this. That's interesting. That hat has got some other kind of percussive sound on there, but I'll lock down the kick. Seems to be quite a long kick. So I'm just going to get in there and take a look at that. But I'm going to show you over here. You can go to a different kind of envelope. So just shortening that using the keyboard, which is something we couldn't do before. You know, you used to have to do this on here. See what else we have. Just going to pick up the tempo. I'm going to see whether there are any musical elements on these pads. Okay, there's a bass and a chord.
One time.
Okay, so I've just doubled the length of the pattern. Gonna do something like that. Now the sound has got a real slow attack, so I might go in and fine tune that. It's possibly a bit too slow, so I'm going to go over here, change the start point of the sample. Okay, maybe just a little bit too much of that slow attack taken off. So that's nice. Let's see what we've got with this bass. So yeah, that's working quite nicely. So what I do, instead of kind of fussing around and trying to get other sounds to go on this particular kit, and in machine terms, these are known as groups, right? So a group is a kit. What I tend to do is go to another one, load up, and just bring something in. And I'm going to take off the pre here, randomly just select another kit and drop it in. So I've got some new sounds. Not feeling those, so I'm going to go to the next. Let's try another. Okay, nice. Don't know if that's going to sit. Yeah, that should work. Okay, let me solo that. I'll get the actual groups and do that instead. I like that. So what I would do here, so that I can have that in isolation, maybe in the arrangement, is to add some effects. So let's go to this. So over to the sound. I can now come over. I can shift and browse. So I've got some effects that I can add in here now. So let's just go through and grab some reverb. I can adjust the parameters here, but equally, I can do so over here. So that's a long reverb time. But I don't want to do it too long. Let's take the mix down a bit. And let's just take that solo off that group. In the mixer, let's bring it down. Now I've got to say, one of the things that I miss from the integration with the Mark II was the fact that you could put the mixer on the Mark II. On the, the main screen here, I'm hoping that Native Instruments bring that. They're doing incremental changes where they're adding new functionality that's bringing these together. At one point in time, I thought they'd stopped the development of the machine, particularly its integration here. So that was disappointing. One of the reasons why I got the MPC, in fact, was because of that. But I'm a massive fan of the workflow with Maschine, and the simplicity, the kind of muscle memory thing is good. I think ultimately I prefer that to using a touch screen. So the MPC is great. I'd say it's possibly broader in terms of its scope because of all of its plugins and everything. But ultimately I'm not a big fan of the touch screen. I prefer this. So I'm quite happy to be home with this again. Certainly not intending on drinking a lot today, but just thought I'd have a little bit. Okay, so this is cool. Let me just kind of first group. I'm just going to solo that percussive sound. And that's what I love about the whole kind of push button thing, is the fact you can kind of vibe with it and try out, you know, in a way sort of like DJ style arrangement ideas, just on the fly. But what I tend to do is I don't tend to arrange in the machine. What I tend to do is I basically render all of the audio and then bring that through into the DAW for arrangement, because I feel that's a better place to do it. So that's a cool idea. What I might do is see if we've got any of these kind of vocal things. So in Raw Rhythm, which is this expansion, the kits, I don't know if there is a dedicated vocal. Oh, there's a thing called voicing. Okay, let's have a look what we've got. It's not vocals. Let's have a look at this. No, quite nice though. Actually, I've got to address a couple of comments. So Nicole Cast, thank you. Cool, yeah, you need to get into production. It's a lot easier these days. There are so many options. You don't even need to spend loads of money. You can go really far on just on a laptop, you know. Let me see how this... Yeah, I'm going to record that one in, but I'm going to bring it down in volume. It sounds like a kind of vinyl cut hi-hat. I really like that. And then I'm just going to go see if I can find some kind of vocal thing. I don't think I'm going to get it here. Let me pick another expansion. Let me go to, yeah, Higher Place, I think, has some vocals. Let's have a look. Vocal bits. Let's see. Regular. Just going to undo that. Going to take the pattern, just going to double that. So you saw there that I was kind of repeating it a bit too often. And then what was happening was the two vocals were hitting at the same time. So now what I did was I allowed some space, and it's almost like a call and response between those different vocal elements. So if I solo those, see, they've all got their own space. And, you know, when I started off, I know for sure that I used to just like throw loads of elements on, and I used to wonder why things sounded messy in a club. You know, yes, layering works, but layering is where things are complementary, and there are kind of reasons why you're layering, not just throwing things one on top of the other, because you just end up, it's just a mess. So it's good to consider in your arrangement, you know, taking a break from some of these kind of repetitive elements and allowing each thing to sit in its own space. So what I might do is I might look for some kind of an instrument, because, you know, like I said, this is the integration of the Maschine Plus running with the new Maschine 3 OS, and then the S61 Mk3. The integration now is very, very good. Still some room for improvement, but what I'll do is, if we bring on a instrument, let me just bring this along to the Monarch, and let's see if we can get a lead. Let's see what we got. So this is now loading up essentially Reactor into the Maschine Plus. That is not the kind of patch that I want. Just going to use that to bring the volume down. So if we go back to the browser, let's have a look. What else do we have? I'm looking for something really simple, to be honest, like a classic monosynth. Let me just see what we got. Nope. But you can see what's really nice is the keyboard now is showing the Monarch interface on here. So when I find something that I like, I can tweak the parameters over here away from the machine. I'm looking for something simple. This is going to get boring. Let me see. If anything on the names helps me make a decision, potentially. Oh gosh, no. Just for context, if anybody's wondering what I'm trying to match here, this is the idea that we've built up. It's not exactly what I was looking for, but actually that feels like it's working. Okay, I hit the wrong note there. I'm going to undo that. Maybe add some delay. Let's get that here. So you're going to use the beat delay. Let's see how this sounds. I'm going to take the mix down first. Just going to solo that again and play that. Yeah, it sounds nice. It's just with the triplet 16th delay. Just bring it down in the volume overall. Yeah, so that's a nice little idea. Going to save that one as well. And because I tend to build up quite a lot of different projects on the machine, what I tend to do is I tend to put in these days the year so that I can kind of organize stuff, because it doesn't have particularly good file management on here. And it's September. And it is the 11th. Oh gosh, it's that date. Wow, need to remember that. Never forget that. I was coming back from Ibiza. Can you believe it? I landed on oh my gosh, I can't remember. It was the morning after not sleeping, and then basically seeing those planes on the towers and stuff on TV. It was just crazy coming back from Ibiza. So yeah, everybody's in our memories, of course. Right, so September 11. So I'm saving that. And so that's stored. And, what I've been doing here is just really showing this integration between the update of the machine plus. So this is entirely standalone, no computer, hooked up with basically the S61, the Mk3. And they've got a very nice integration between the two now. So it works great, works really well. Just to illustrate that once again, if I go back onto the screen over here, you've got the UI of the plugin has been replicated on the screen now. So you've got the Monarch interface. Yes, I had moved on to the delay, but I think they've done a really good job. And I know that it's kind of like an incremental thing. They're looking for doing further releases and updates. I'm really pleased about that, because as I said earlier, I was really thinking that perhaps Maschine was done, and that's when I bought the MPC. But now this has got me back working with this, and I'm very happy to do so. It doesn't mean I'm neglecting the MPC entirely, but definitely there's more of a focus for me now back on the Maschine native instruments. I think it's the muscle memory. It's the fact that I don't need to kind of look at a screen so much. It's just, button pushing, and it's a funny one. It's like we've got all of these kind of modern interfaces and new ways of doing things, but ultimately there's something really simple about buttons and shortcuts. If you can memorize them, it's almost like playing an instrument, right? People, when they learn an instrument, their hands get used to certain things. Playing a guitar, playing a bass, keyboard. It's the hands getting into certain kind of configurations, and it's the same thing with the machine for me. It's the buttons, remembering those kind of positions. And I find that's a bit more inspiring than a touch screen, like the MPC. So I've just noticed a couple of people joining that I recognize. Adam Timlet, how are you? It's been a while. Mr. Lloyd Neal, how are you? Good to see you. Kiro, much love, of course. Jaden McKenzie, though, you got a question. So, do you have any advice on someone using Cubase for the iPad? Do I use sample packs? So, firstly, I haven't used Cubase on the iPad for a very, very long time. I don't have an iPad now. I did, and I used it a long time ago, and it's very, very early stages. I have no idea what it's like now. It certainly seemed capable in a very kind of primitive way back when I was using it. I'm sure it's got a lot better now. But personally, I'm not sure. I've been telling you guys tonight how I prefer buttons and kind of like the rotaries and controls. Touch screens are not really my thing. So I don't think personally I would enjoy using an iPad for making music. But on to your second question, do you use sample packs? Now, the whole of tonight's session, and it will be available to watch back, has been done using a sample pack from Native Instruments. It's an expansion. It's designed for Maschine. And it's called, let me remind myself, Raw. It's been made by Alex Kidd. He does a very good job of his expansions. Raw Rhythm. So this is Native Instruments. And I found it actually really inspiring, actually. It's great. It's really cool. So this is using a couple of the kits from that particular expansion, and then I've used another from another expansion called Higher Place. So yes, I do use sample packs. What I don't tend to do is to go onto places like Splice and Loop Cloud, etc., and search through things there. The expansions I really like because it's the convenience. It's just that you've got yourself a kit up and running, some musical samples. I can play them on the keyboard here. It's all quick and easy. So when you have limited time, which is definitely my situation, having all that kind of stuff available is great. Way back, I never used to use sample packs because really they were not around, except for the time and space ones, which we used for the vocals generally. So I used to literally use keyboard racks. Yes, I'd sample drums from records. I remember many sessions, Daz IQ and I just going through records, taking kicks, snares, hats, etc., doing that. We'd build up our own sample libraries, our own sample packs, essentially. And I've still got some of those. In fact, I have loaded a lot of my personal sounds onto the machine, so they're available for me to use. I just didn't use them on this session. What I used to do traditionally was to deliberately create a kit where I would deliberately select a kick, a hat, clap, snare, etc. But as I said, I don't have as much time as I used to do this kind of thing. So it's those rare moments in the evening when I get the opportunity to do this, and I need things at speed. So that's why it's great with the expansions. And my output rate is incredible. I mean, you've seen that it's very easy for me to knock up ideas, and that's not being boastful or anything. I can kind of do it in my sleep. But having all of these sounds available makes that possible. And it's the simplicity of getting these ideas together. Yeah, in the past, I've released albums as we get closer to Christmas, the Night Tales albums, and generally there's a lot of tracks on there. It doesn't take me a long time to do that because I can get my ideas down super quick. So it's really helpful. So anyway, thanks to everybody for joining. I'm going to be stopping now, and this will be available for watching back. And Native Instruments expansions, they're usually very good. And I'm definitely back on the machine thing now after using the MPC for a while, but really enjoying the fact that they've got a really good integration now between the two. All right. Have a good rest of the week and a good weekend.